4, 3, 2, 1.
Studio Classroom is Please stand by. Studio Classroom is on the air.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Studio Classroom on the air. We're so glad you're here. Today is a great day to learn something new. My name is Anne-Marie.
And my name is Gabe. Today we wanted to talk about food, specifically where our food comes from and if we're picky about what we eat. Well, Anne-Marie, are you a little bit picky, or do you know some picky people?
I was picky when I was growing up. There weren't a lot of things that I liked to try. I didn't like strong flavors, spicy food, or even bitter tasting food. I didn't like to eat it. Now as I'm older, I definitely like to try more new foods. But you know, some people are really picky about the way their food is made too. Maybe they'll eat a certain vegetable, but only if it's cooked.
Yeah,
Have you heard of that before?
Yes. Well, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you about as well. Are there certain foods that you try to stay away from, like raw vegetables?
I personally like raw vegetables, but I do have a lot of friends who don't like them.
Okay, what about this? If you see a little bit of mold on something, are you going to eat it, or is it okay, you just cut off the mold?
Mold?
Yeah, mold.
I don't like mold on my food. Who likes mold on their food?
Nobody likes mold on food, but the fact is mold grows on some foods, right? But some foods you think, okay, that's just nasty, I want to throw it away. Others, for me personally, if I see a little bit of mold on the edge of a block of cheese, I'll just cut off that part of the cheese and use the rest.
Okay, I'm not so sure about that, but we are talking about where our food comes from because it kind of has to do with our topic today. Yesterday, we started learning about special physicians called the soil doctors and how they make sure the food we eat grows in healthy dirt. We learned that not all soil is healthy.
That's right. Today we're going to find out what happens when soil is unhealthy and talk about what we should do or what should be done to fix it. Are you ready to find out?
I know I am. Take out your magazines, friends, and let's get started.
The soil doctors. People need to be on the lookout for soil pollution to protect themselves and others. In 1984, in Taoyuan County, a chemical company discharged wastewater containing the heavy metal cadmium into a rice field. In order to keep people from eating the toxic rice, all of the crops had to be destroyed. In situations where soil is contaminated, the first step soil doctors take is to stop the farming of the land. The EPA then treats the soil so that it can be used again.
Hello everyone, welcome to Language Lab. I'm Jack. 先来看 discharge 这个动词，意思是排放或卸货。譬如 The ship discharged the oil it was carrying into trucks that were taking it to be turned into gas. 这艘船把承载的石油卸载到要运送去提炼成瓦斯的卡车里。Discharge 也指从军中退伍。譬如 James was discharged from the army after 2 years of service. James 在军中服役2年后退伍了。Discharge 也可以做名词，意思是排出或是流出。譬如 The discharge from the wound was thick and greenish yellow, meaning it was infected. 从伤口流出来的液体既浓又呈现黄绿色，这表示伤口已经感染了。接着来看 contaminate 这个动词，意思是污染。譬如 Over 200,000 kilograms of meat were contaminated at the processing plant and had to be recalled. 超过20万公斤的肉品在加工厂里受到污染，必须要回收。或者是 Everyone had to buy bottled water after the city's water supply was contaminated by pollution. 这个城市的自来水被污染之后，大家不得不买瓶装水了。再举个例句 During some trials, the jury is kept separated from others so that any publicity surrounding the case doesn't contaminate them. 在一些审判进行过程中，陪审团会被隔离，以防任何与受审案件有关的关注影响到他们。Okay, let's get back to our teachers.
All right, thank you so much, Jack. Let's get right into our lesson today and finish up learning about soil doctors. Are you ready? People need to be on the lookout for soil pollution to protect themselves and others. All right, we have a phrase to talk about, to be on the lookout for. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Okay, yeah, if you're on the lookout for something, that means you're not just casually looking around sometimes. This means you are actively trying to be aware about something.
Yeah, for example, when you're walking through the woods, you could keep a lookout for birds. That means you're actively watching for them, you're hoping that you see them. But it's not always positive. This could be positive or negative or even neutral.
Yeah, it depends on what you're looking for or what you're on the lookout for. This reminds me of the phrase, to keep your eyes peeled. What do you think about that interesting phrase?
Well, peeled is like, I think about an eyelid being peeled way up, to keep your eyes very, very wide open.
That's probably what it means, Anne-Marie. When I think of the word peel, I think of a banana. You're trying to peel back the skin of the banana, right? So you can eat the banana. So I always wondered why they say keep your eyes peeled, to mean, you know, try to be aware and look for something, but maybe you just said it. Maybe it's the idea of keeping your eyelids peeled up so that you can...
Make sure you keep your eyes open.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes open is another great one.
Yeah, that's right. Well, what we are keeping our eyes open, keeping our eyes peeled for here is soil pollution. In 1984 in Taoyuan County, a chemical company discharged wastewater containing the heavy metal cadmium into a rice field. Gabe, why is there a picture of a rock band on the screen behind me?
Oh, come on, Anne-Marie, it's heavy metal. I love heavy metal. Don't you like heavy metal?
Oh, we're not talking about that kind of heavy metal.
Well, this rock band's name is cadmium.
Is it really?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. No, it's not. You're right, Anne-Marie. No, that's not the kind of heavy metal we're talking about today. The element mentioned in our lesson today is cadmium. When I see the word cadmium, it makes me think of the Cadbury chocolates, but this is very different. Cadmium is a kind of heavy metal, and you know, this always reminds me of the periodic table that we learned about in chemistry class.
Oh, well, how do we know if something is a heavy metal? Do you know?
Well, if something is a heavy metal, this means it is high. It has a high density, it has a high atomic weight and high atomic number, but you can only know that by looking at the periodic table to figure that out.
Gotcha.
There are other heavy metals like copper, lead, mercury, iron, silver, uranium. Friends, maybe you can take a look at the periodic table and see if you can find some other heavy metals. You know, some of those symbols for those elements are hard to know what they represent. Some are easy, like copper. If you see Cu, you might think, oh, that stands for copper, and it's true. Cadmium is Cd. You might think, well, why is it not Ca? Well, Ca is for calcium. Other ones are a little more difficult, like Fe. Do you remember what Fe stands for?
Is that one iron?
Yeah, that's iron.
Yes.
It's like, why does Fe represent iron? I mean, there are reasons, linguistic reasons, but anyway, friends, the periodic table, maybe you found that interesting to learn about. I always thought it was a pretty hard thing to memorize.
It sure was for me as well. Well, we're still talking about this heavy metal cadmium that was leaked into a rice field. In order to keep people from eating the toxic rice, all of the crops had to be destroyed. Now, toxic, that is a review word from yesterday. Remember, that's one of our key words for our lesson.
Now, hold on a second. You talked about being a toxic person or if maybe someone is in a toxic relationship yesterday.
I did, and I think that is a really good topic to learn more about.
Well, let's do that right now. Not with us, not here, but let's go to today's info cloud.
Hello friends, welcome to InfoCloud. It's always great to be around Andrea because she is such a positive person. You just feel recharged to be around her.
Well, thank you so much, Rex. But why are you all of a sudden saying these things?
Well, because I recently met a toxic person who takes the energy out of me whenever I'm with him.
I understand what you are talking about. Usually, the word toxic is used to describe something that is poisonous and harmful to people.
When you use toxic to describe a person, it means the person is very negative, controlling, and even harmful to other people emotionally.
For example, Henry's mom is a toxic person who has hurt him deeply. She would say things to discourage him and even insult him.
A toxic person is usually very unhealthy for people around them. I usually avoid these people if possible. But when I come to think of it, I sometimes can be a toxic person when I'm in a bad mood.
Well, we are not perfect, but I think we should all do our best to give positive energy and encourage each other with love and patience.
在生活当中，我们经常会碰到一些充满负面能量的人，只要在他们身边，你就会觉得自己的能量被他们吸干了。你可以用 toxic person 来形容他。Toxic 是有毒的、有害的，通常是用来形容物质。当你用 toxic 来形容一个人，那就代表这个人真的很不健康，而且会在情绪上对其他人造成负面影响或是伤害。Henry's mom is a toxic person who has hurt him deeply. Henry 的妈妈是一个充满负面能量的人 ，Henry 被他伤得很深。让我们用爱和包容来对待身边的人，避免成为一个 toxic person。这就是今天的 InfoCloud，我们下次云端见。
Studio Classroom is on the air.
Okay, friends, welcome back to Studio Classroom. It is time for a quiz.
Quiz time!
Are you ready, Gabe?
Yes, I hope so.
Okay, what phrase from our lesson means to actively search for or to watch for
You're pursuing something if you're actively searching for them.
Not quite. This more means to watch for something. To look for
to look
something.
for something. I think I know.
What is it?
Friends, I know you probably got this faster than I did, but is it to be on the lookout for something?
That's exactly right. Very good, Gabe.
Well, friends, we do have more to learn about soil doctors. Let's do that right now.
The soil doctors. Some types of treatment occur on-site in the field, and some occur off-site. Eventually, crops can be planted again in the soil, but it could be years before that happens. Soil doctors can treat sick soil, but they prefer to prevent soil pollution. They try to manage the risk of pollution by controlling its sources and testing dirt regularly. Soil doctors play a vital role in preventing toxic chemicals from harming plants, animals, and people. But ordinary people can do their part by staying aware of where waste goes.
"好的，来看 eventually 这个副词，意思是最终或是终于。譬如 Tom eventually graduated from university and got a job. Tom 终于大学毕业，也找到了工作。或者 People should buy a house while interest rates are low because they will eventually go up. 大家应该在利率低的时候买房子，因为最终利率一定会上升。再来看一个例句 ：We'll make it to the beach eventually, but first, your room needs to be cleaned by you. 我们最后一定会去海边，但是首先你的房间需要先打扫干净。最后来看 vital 这个形容词，意思是极其重要的、不可缺少的。譬如 Food and water are vital to the human body. 食物和水对人体至关重要。或者 It is vital that the financial records for the company are accurate. 正确无误的财务记录对这家公司非常重要。最后再举个例句 Humans have 5 vital organs: the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, and brain. 人类有5个重要的器官：心脏、肺脏、肝脏、肾脏和大脑。Okay, let's get back to our teachers.
All right, thank you, Jack. You certainly do play a vital role here on the show. All right, now in this next section, we are going to see a few more of those key words, treat or treatment and toxic. Let's read that first sentence here. Some types of treatment occur on site in the field, and some occur off-site. Of course, this is talking about treating the soil for heavy metals.
That's right, and we're talking about fields like a farmland or something like that. Well, let's take a look at the word treatment. You've seen the word treat, and that is one of the key ideas for this lesson. So treatment is the noun, okay? This is the way or the use of drugs or medicine to cure something. Now, treatment could have another definition we often use, and that is the way that you deal with or behave toward somebody.
Yeah, you could treat someone with kindness. That means you show kindness towards them. But in our usage of the word here, we're talking more about changing the way something is. You could treat water as well, or you could treat a disease, and that would mean to make the disease go away.
And that's how we often use that word when reference to going to the clinic or to the hospital to get treatment of some kind. Well, anyway, here our lesson says some types of treatment occur on site in the field and some occur off site. Eventually, crops can be planted again in the soil, but here's the surprising thing, or the unfortunate thing. It could be years before that happens. It could be years before we're able to use that field again.
That's right. Soil doctors can treat sick soil, but they prefer to prevent soil pollution. All right, this is the key concept for this last part of our lesson, treatment versus prevention.
All right, you saw the word prevent. It's a verb in our lesson, but Anne-Marie mentioned the noun form, prevention. And there are some related phrases that we could talk about too, like preventive or preventative measures.
Oh, those are things that you do in order to keep something from happening.
Exactly. Stop it from happening in the first place. That's why we wanted to talk about this idea. And this applies to a lot of things in life, not just soil or preventing unhealthy soil from occurring in the first place, or from toxic waste from getting into soil in the first place. We could use this to talk about any area of life. You could either try to solve the problem or prevent the problem from happening in the first place.
Have you ever heard the phrase, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure?
You know, I have not heard that phrase, but I think I agree with it. Can you say it again?
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That means if you do small things right now to keep something from happening, in the end, you won't have to deal with the bigger problem. That's very similar to the phrase we were just talking about.
It's so good. It's such a great thing for all of us to keep in mind, friends. You know, aside from talking about soil, maybe there's a problem in your life, or maybe there's a problem that you foresee might happen sometime in the future if you don't do something, if you don't speak out or stand up for somebody, right? Maybe you could do something right now to prevent that problem from happening. Maybe it's going to take a few more people, so get your friends and your classmates, whoever else in your life, together to prevent some problem from happening.
All right, well, let's find out how we are trying to prevent soil pollution. It says they try to manage the risk of pollution by controlling its sources and testing dirt regularly. Soil doctors play a vital role in preventing toxic chemicals from harming plants, animals, and people, but ordinary people can do their part by staying aware of where waste goes.
That's another great thing for us to remember. It's not just about the doctors and physicians working with the soil, right? Everybody has to do their part. Let's do our part to help solve this problem or to help prevent problems in the future. Let's see how the word vital is used in a skit.
The heart is a vital part of the human body.
Excuse me, Professor. What do you mean by vital?
It's absolutely necessary. You can't live without it.
Oh, so the heart is very important.
Yes, there are several other vital organs. Your lungs, kidneys, brain, they are all vital.
Oh, other things are vital to life too. The air we breathe, the water we drink, oh, the food we eat. We can't survive without those things.
Correct. All those things are essential.
Yeah. Excuse me, Professor. Do we need to remember this information? How important is it?
All this information will be on the final exam.
Oh, it's vital information. I should write it down. Can you repeat what you just said?
Okay, friends, we are here with our whiteboards, ready to finish up our lesson. I think we should play a game.
All right.
I think that we should both try to think of a word from the lesson or a word that makes us think of the lesson that kind of summarizes the idea.
Okay.
Let's both write them down and then see what we picked.
Got it.
Are you ready?
And Marie, yes, I've got a great one right here. This one did not really appear in the lesson at all.
Oh, okay.
But it's a phrase that the lesson made me think of.
Oh, okay.
You'll see why. But
Mine is a review word from the lesson.
it's a review word. Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to match today.
No.
Should I try to guess yours since yours is a review?
Sure. This word appeared many, many times in yesterday's and today's lesson.
Heavy metal. Actually,
Oh, that's a good guess. Actually,
that only appeared once.
it's kind of in reference to this word. They kind of connect a little bit.
Oh, is it a chemical?
No, but chemicals are this.
Oh, no. Anne-Marie, you better just show us the word.
They're toxic.
Of
Chemicals
course.
are toxic.
Not all chemicals are toxic.
Well, they can be, and the ones in our lesson were.
Okay, yes, the ones mentioned in our lesson were toxic. That's very good. So tell us a little more about why you think this is such a key idea.
Well, I figured this was a good idea to talk about because when the soil is toxic, it has a really big impact on us, what we eat and our day-to-day lives. There are so many things in our lives that can be toxic. So this idea just made me think about other things in my environment that I should watch out for.
All right, that's a great reminder. Here is the phrase that I thought of. It caught me off guard.
The whole lesson?
I'm telling you, Anne-Marie, I didn't know much about this unhealthy soil before, and I'm a little concerned now. If something catches you off guard, that means it surprises you in a way that might make you confused or concerned. You weren't ready for it. I wasn't ready for this lesson, honestly, and now I'm really concerned about all the fruits and plants and vegetables that I ever am going to eat ever in the future.
How about you, friends? Did this lesson catch you off guard? That's something great to talk about in English. Do that and we will have a brand new lesson for you next time. So join us right here on Studio Classroom.
A lifetime. I am so proud to have you in my life. A good friend lasts a lifetime.